Welcome back to Myths Unraveled. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Krampus is a figure deeply rooted in Central European folklore, particularly in regions like Austria, Germany, and Hungary. His origins stretch back to pre-Christian traditions, linking him to ancient rituals and pagan celebrations that existed long before the Christianization of Europe. The figure of Krampus has always been tied to the darker aspects of winter, the wild, and the fearsome forces of nature. While he is now most commonly associated with Christmas traditions, his story is far older, and his evolution over the centuries paints a fascinating picture of how ancient myths intertwine with more contemporary customs. In many ways, Krampus can be seen as a continuation of various mythological figures from pagan times, figures that personified the harshness of winter and the fear of the unknown. The darkness of winter, with its long nights, freezing cold, and the dangers of snowstorms, often called forth stories of creatures who inhabited the wilderness. These figures were often frightening and dangerous, representing the untamed forces of nature that humans had to contend with during the harsh months of winter. Some of these creatures were thought to live in the forests or mountains, coming down into villages only when the weather grew particularly harsh. Krampus, as a horned, hoofed, and monstrous creature, can be seen as a descendant of these ancient beings who served to represent the wild and unmanageable aspects of nature. One of the key elements of Krampus's mythological background is his connection to the figure of Saint Nicholas. In the Christianized version of the story, Saint Nicholas, or Nicholas, was seen as a gift bringer who rewarded well-behaved children. He was the symbol of kindness, generosity, and reward. However, in the folklore of many European regions, Saint Nicholas was not alone in his December duties. While he brought gifts and blessings, Krampus followed behind, serving as the opposite force, punishing the naughty or misbehaving children. This juxtaposition of Saint Nicholas and Krampus is one of the central aspects that define their relationship in Christmas traditions. The origins of Krampus are often traced to the figure of the Peshtin, who were part of older pagan celebrations tied to the winter solstice. In pre-Christian Alpine traditions, the Peshtin were wild, unruly spirits who were believed to roam the mountains during the long winter nights. These figures were often depicted with frightening features, horns, fangs, and large, threatening figures. They were believed to have been part of rituals that helped ward off evil spirits and ensure the protection of the village during the darkest time of the year. The tradition of the Peshtin, which may have involved both men and women dressing up in masks and furs to represent these spirits, slowly merged with Christian traditions over time, and the Peshtin evolved into figures like Krampus. Another aspect of Krampus's origins lies in the ancient customs surrounding the winter solstice and the new year. In many ancient cultures, this time of year was seen as a liminal period, one where the boundary between the human and supernatural realms became more fluid. The solstice marked a time of rebirth, but it was also a time when spirits, both good and evil, were thought to be especially active. The fear of these spirits during this period was often used to explain the harsh conditions of winter, and thus figures like Krampus were used as a way to cope with the threat posed by these supernatural forces. By embodying the dangers and darkness of winter in a tangible form, Krampus became a way to give shape to the unseen forces that loomed over daily life. As Christianity spread throughout Europe, the ancient winter traditions gradually became integrated into the Christian calendar, and figures like Krampus were recontextualized. Saint Nicholas, who was already a popular figure in Christian Europe, became associated with the December festivities. However, rather than completely replacing the older pagan traditions, the two figures, Saint Nicholas and Krampus, became intertwined. This blending of old and new created a unique dynamic, where the figure of Saint Nicholas became the symbol of reward, while Krampus became the embodiment of punishment. The pairing of Krampus with Saint Nicholas was particularly important in the region of the Alps, where the traditions surrounding both figures became an essential part of Christmas celebrations. On the night of December 5th, Saint Nicholas would visit children, giving them gifts if they had been good throughout the year. However, Krampus would also make his rounds, punishing those who had been naughty. Krampus would use a variety of means to frighten and punish children. He would carry a bundle of birch sticks to swat them with, and in some versions of the story, he would even carry a sack or basket, in which he would stuff the most misbehaving children, and take them away to his lair, sometimes never to be seen again. The threat of Krampus's visit became a way for parents to reinforce good behavior in their children, instilling fear as a motivator for moral conduct. In these traditions, Krampus was not merely a figure of horror, he served a clear moral purpose. His presence served as a counterbalance to the kindness of Saint Nicholas. While Saint Nicholas rewarded those who had been good, Krampus punished those who had failed to follow the rules. The tradition of Krampus's visit was therefore a form of moral education, one that used fear and intimidation to ensure social order during a time of year when indulgence and excess were common. This was not just a matter of gift-giving. It was also a moment of reinforcing societal values, particularly those related to good behavior and discipline. Over time, Krampus became more than just a mythological figure, he became a symbol of a particular kind of moral order. His role in Christmas celebrations could be seen as a way of confronting the darker aspects of human nature, those traits of greed, disobedience and mischief. The fear of Krampus's punishment acted as a reminder that these behaviors had consequences. In many ways, Krampus's association with Christmas can be viewed as an early form of using folklore and mythology to regulate social behavior, a way of conveying moral lessons through storytelling and fear. Though Krampus's origins are rooted in ancient pagan traditions, his story continued to evolve through centuries of Christian influence and regional customs. As Krampus became a figure of holiday festivities, he also became an important marker of cultural identity. The way Krampus was portrayed, the rituals surrounding his visits, and the methods of punishing misbehaving children varied greatly from one region to another, each community adapting the myth to suit its own customs and needs. In this way, Krampus became a figure not just of terror, but of regional pride, as different groups took ownership of the myth and made it their own. In sum, the origins of Krampus are deeply intertwined with both ancient pagan traditions and Christian customs. His evolution from a wild nature-bound spirit to a demon who punishes children during the Christmas season reflects the complex ways in which mythologies evolve and adapt over time. From his early connections to the Perchten and the spirits of winter, to his eventual pairing with Saint Nicholas as a figure of moral punishment, Krampus remains a fascinating symbol of the darker side of human nature, offering both a lesson in behavior and a reminder of the dangers that lurk in the winter night. His continuing presence in modern culture attests to the enduring power of this ancient myth and its ability to adapt to new contexts, maintaining its relevance across centuries. Krampus's appearance is one of the most distinctive and terrifying aspects of his mythology, and it plays a key role in how he is perceived in various cultures. His form is deliberately grotesque, a blend of human, animal, and demonic features that evoke a sense of unease and fear. The image of Krampus has evolved over time, but it has always maintained certain core elements that connect him to ancient representations of evil, chaos, and the primal forces of nature. His appearance is not just a matter of aesthetics, it serves to symbolize his dual role in the tradition, both as a punisher of the wicked, and as a reminder of the dangers lurking in the natural world. One of the most iconic features of Krampus is his horned head. The horns, often large and spiraling, are one of the first things that catch the eye when one encounters an image of Krampus. They are a direct connection to the ancient pagan traditions from which Krampus derives. Horns in mythology are frequently associated with gods or spirits that embody the untamed and wild aspects of nature. They are a symbol of strength, power, and connection to the animalistic and chaotic elements of the world. In the case of Krampus, his horns elevate him from simply being a creature of terror to a figure that represents something much older and more primal, a force of nature that exists beyond human control or understanding. The rest of his face is equally unsettling, often depicted with sharp teeth and a long, lolling tongue. The face is typically a hybrid of human and animal traits, reflecting the idea that Krampus is not fully human nor fully beast. His eyes are often shown as glowing or malevolent, further enhancing the sense that he is not of this world. This combination of human and animal features makes Krampus appear as a creature caught between two worlds, human civilization and the untamed wilderness. It speaks to the idea that he is a being who represents the darker side of human nature, as well as the dangers lurking outside the safety of the village or town. Krampus's body is another key aspect of his fearsome appearance. His torso and limbs are typically depicted as covered in fur, often shaggy or bristling, suggesting a creature who lives in the wild, far removed from human society. This fur, whether it is animal-like or demonically scaled, evokes a sense of raw primal energy. It suggests that Krampus is not bound by the rules of human decency or morality. He is a being of instinct, driven by base desires and natural forces. The fact that Krampus is often shown with an animal-like body also reinforces his connection to the pagan figures from which he descends, such as the Perchten, who were often portrayed as part beast, part spirit. Another important feature of Krampus's appearance is his legs and feet. Krampus is usually depicted with cloven hooves, a clear nod to his demonic nature. The cloven hooves link him to the imagery of the devil and other malevolent beings in various mythologies. Hooves are a powerful symbol of power and wildness, representing creatures who live outside the bounds of human civilization. In many cultures, the cloven hoof is associated with evil spirits or forces that are beyond human understanding. It is a characteristic that immediately marks Krampus as an entity that should not be trusted, a creature that is a threat to the established order. Krampus is also commonly shown carrying chains, either dragging them behind him or wearing them on his body. These chains are symbolic of the punishment he brings, the weight of his power and menace. The rattling of chains as he approaches signals his arrival, and they add an element of fear to his overall presentation. The chains can also be seen as a symbol of the confinement of the spirits, or the supernatural forces that Krampus embodies. He is a creature who moves between worlds, a force that brings punishment, chaos, and danger to those who fall out of line. In some depictions, Krampus is shown carrying a bundle of birch branches or whips, which he uses to strike the naughty children. This is one of his most well-known attributes, as it directly ties him to his role as a punisher. The birch branches are a tool of discipline, and their presence on Krampus's body underscores his role as a figure of moral correction. In the context of the traditional Krampus night celebrations, where men dressed as Krampus would wander the streets frightening children, the sight of Krampus brandishing his birch branches would send a clear message: misbehavior would not go unpunished. The final and perhaps most unsettling part of Krampus's appearance is his carrying of a sack or basket. This is the aspect of his character that is often the most terrifying, as it suggests that Krampus might take children away. The sack is often depicted as large and dark, and it is filled with the promise of horrible fates for the children who misbehave. Some versions of the myth suggest that Krampus will place the children in his sack and carry them off to his lair, where they will be eaten or kept as slaves. This adds an element of existential dread to the character of Krampus. He is not merely a figure of punishment, but one of disappearance and loss. The idea of being taken away by Krampus reflects the deep-seated fear of abandonment and the unknown, common fears that children have, but also fears that permeate human life in general. The terrifying appearance of Krampus has been further amplified in modern representations, especially through popular media and contemporary festivities. Today, Krampus is frequently seen in Krampus Lauf, or Krampus runs, in which people dress up in elaborate Krampus costumes and parade through streets, sometimes frightening bystanders or even participating in mock punishments. The costumes today often emphasize the most dramatic elements of Krampus's appearance: his horns, his fur-covered body, his sharp teeth, and his large, glowing eyes. The grotesque nature of these costumes serves to intensify the primal fear associated with Krampus and to ensure that the audience understands the nature of the creature. However, Krampus's fearsome image also serves a secondary purpose. It is a reminder of the dual nature of the holiday season. In contrast to the jolly gift-bringing Santa Claus, Krampus represents the darker side of the human experience. the consequences of misdeeds, and the reminder that not all actions go without repercussions. His image is one that mixes both a sense of terror and a sense of dark humor. In modern times, Krampus has evolved from a purely frightening figure to one that embodies the spirit of rebelliousness and subversion of the traditional cheerful holiday norms. This transformation speaks to how the appearance of Krampus can simultaneously evoke terror, excitement, and even a sense of fun. Krampus's appearance is far from random. It is a carefully constructed representation of chaos, primal fear, and punishment. His demonic features, horns, sharp teeth, cloven hooves, and dark, animalistic body, are meant to convey that he is an entity beyond human understanding, one that represents the forces of nature and evil. These features are intentionally unsettling, and they serve to reinforce the ancient idea that Krampus is not just a creature to be feared, but a symbol of the darker, untamable elements of the world. Through his appearance, Krampus reminds us of the consequences of bad behavior, the existence of danger in the world, and the primal fears that still lurk beneath the surface of our modern lives. Krampus's role in Christmas traditions is an intriguing and often unsettling one, as it serves to reinforce both the moral framework of the holiday season and the contrasting aspects of good and evil. While Saint Nicholas brings gifts and rewards to well-behaved children, Krampus is the figure who comes to punish the naughty ones. This duality has shaped the way people understand Christmas in many parts of Central Europe, and over the centuries, Krampus's role has become more prominent in the broader Christmas narrative. He is not just a villain in the story, he serves as a counterpart to Saint Nicholas, and together they make up a complete view of the holiday that blends reward and punishment, kindness and terror, light and dark. At the heart of Krampus's role is the contrast he presents to Saint Nicholas, who is often seen as the embodiment of kindness, generosity, and the rewards for good behavior. Saint Nicholas, in many ways, represents the ideals of Christmas, the spirit of giving, the warmth of community, and the joy of childhood innocence. He is a figure of comfort, one who brings gifts to children and ensures that they are rewarded for their goodness. However, in the Christianized versions of Christmas that developed over time, the image of Saint Nicholas alone was seen as insufficient to fully encompass the moral complexity of the season. If Christmas was to be a time of reward for the good, then it needed to acknowledge that there were consequences for those who were not well behaved. Enter Krampus, the dark counterpart, who helps to balance out the goodness and joy of Saint Nicholas with fear and punishment for those who do not adhere to moral expectations. Krampus's role in this dynamic is not simply one of random mischief or arbitrary cruelty. His purpose is clear: he punishes the naughty, serving as a reminder that actions have consequences. The concept of reward and punishment is deeply embedded in the customs surrounding Christmas, and Krampus embodies the consequences of misbehavior. For centuries, he has functioned as a way for parents to instill discipline in their children, using the threat of Krampus's visit as a method of encouraging good behavior during the holiday season. This is not just about scaring children for the sake of terror, it's about creating a sense of accountability. The moral lesson is simple: if you are good, you will be rewarded. If you are bad, you will be punished. The fear of Krampus was used as a way to keep children in line, particularly during a time when societal norms and parental authority were heavily influenced by both religious and cultural expectations. Krampus's role is particularly important in the context of December 5th, which is the night before Saint Nicholas's feast day. In some regions, Saint Nicholas is the one who comes to visit children on December 6th, bringing gifts and blessings. But on the night before December 5th, it is Krampus who makes his rounds, frightening children and ensuring that they are well aware of the potential consequences of their behavior. In these customs, Krampus is not an afterthought. He plays an active and essential role in shaping how children experience the holiday season. His visit is a warning that misbehavior will not be tolerated, that Christmas is a time for both joy and moral reflection, and that one must behave in accordance with societal values. The dichotomy between Saint Nicholas and Krampus is not just a moral one, it's also a reflection of the broader themes of duality that have always been present in winter traditions. Winter is a time of darkness, cold and harsh conditions, but it is also a time of warmth, togetherness, and celebration. The holiday season is marked by both the joy of family gatherings and the danger of the outside world, where the cold and wildness of nature threaten to overwhelm human society. Krampus, as a figure of fear and punishment, represents the wild, chaotic aspects of the world that must be kept at bay in order for the joy of the holiday season to thrive. Saint Nicholas, by contrast, represents the comfort and safety of the home, the warmth of family, and the rewards of good behavior. Together, these two figures balance each other, ensuring that both the dangers of the outside world and the joys of Christmas are acknowledged. The role of Krampus also has a psychological dimension that cannot be ignored. The fear of Krampus is not just about physical punishment, it is about the emotional and psychological impact of his threat. Krampus embodies the deep-seated fears that children have about losing their parents' love and approval, about being abandoned or punished for their actions. These fears are amplified during the Christmas season, when children's expectations are high, and they are more acutely aware of the potential rewards and punishments that await them. The threat of Krampus taps into those fundamental fears and helps to reinforce the idea that moral behavior is necessary to ensure that one is included in the warmth and generosity of the holiday season. This psychological impact of Krampus is also reflected in the ways in which parents and communities have used the myth of Krampus to regulate behavior. In many ways, the story of Krampus serves as a tool of socialization, teaching children the importance of moral conduct and reinforcing the boundaries of acceptable behavior. The fear of Krampus can be seen as a kind of behavioral conditioning, where children learn through the threat of punishment what is expected of them in society. While this may seem harsh by modern standards, it was a widely accepted method of maintaining order and discipline in times when physical punishment was more common and social conformity was highly valued. Krampus's role as a punisher also reflects broader themes of justice and fairness. In the tradition of Krampus, punishment is not arbitrary, it is based on the actions of the individual. Children who misbehave are singled out for punishment, but those who have been good are spared. This system of reward and punishment serves to reinforce the idea that justice is about recognizing and responding to moral behavior. Krampus acts as an enforcer of this moral order, ensuring that bad deeds do not go unpunished. In this sense, Krampus is not just a figure of terror, he is a figure of moral accountability, making sure that fairness prevails during the holiday season. In the modern world, Krampus's role in Christmas traditions has evolved. While his image and presence in popular culture have been largely associated with fear, he is no longer exclusively a figure of terror. In contemporary times, Krampus has been adopted into the holiday festivities of some regions, where people dress up as Krampus and participate in parades and festivals. These events, known as Krampus Laughs, celebrate the darker, more mischievous aspects of the holiday season. Krampus is no longer seen solely as a punisher, but as a figure who adds a sense of rebelliousness and subversion to the holiday. This modern interpretation of Krampus, while still maintaining his association with punishment, also embraces his role as a figure who challenges traditional holiday norms. This subversive element has helped Krampus to remain relevant in the modern age, appealing to people who enjoy the darker, more rebellious side of Christmas. In sum, Krampus's role in Christmas traditions is complex and multifaceted. He is the dark counterpart to Saint Nicholas, embodying the consequences of misbehavior and the need for moral accountability during the holiday season. His presence serves as a reminder that Christmas is not only about reward and celebration, but also about discipline and moral reflection. Krampus's role has evolved over time, but his significance in shaping the way Christmas is experienced remains unchanged. Through his duality, he helps to create a more complete understanding of the holiday, one that acknowledges both the joy and the danger, the warmth and the cold, the good and the bad. Krampus is not just a figure of terror, he is a figure who ensures that the values of the holiday are upheld, and that those who embrace the spirit of Christmas are properly rewarded. Krampus's influence on modern-day traditions and pop culture is vast, reflecting his enduring power as a figure who balances both terror and intrigue. While Krampus's origins are steeped in folklore, His presence today transcends mere myth, having become a symbol of alternative holiday traditions and a subject of fascination in popular media. Over time, his figure has been reinterpreted, reclaimed, and repurposed, embodying a wide array of meanings and themes. The transformation of Krampus from a regional folklore figure to a global icon underscores not only the evolution of traditions surrounding Christmas, but also the ways in which cultural and societal shifts influence the way mythological figures are viewed. Krampus's resurgence in popular culture is perhaps best seen in his growing presence in holiday events. In the past few decades, many communities have revived and expanded upon the Krampusnacht, Krampus night traditions, particularly in Austria, Germany, and other parts of Central Europe. These traditions, which date back centuries, involve people dressing up as Krampus, often in elaborate, terrifying costumes, complete with horns, fur, and chains, and parading through the streets to frighten children and revelers. These Krampus runs have been widely embraced as a way to celebrate the more sinister, mischievous side of the holiday season, offering an alternative to the overly sanitized version of Christmas presented by figures like Santa Claus. Today, Krampuslaufs, or Krampus parades, are held not only in the countries of his origin, but also in other parts of the world, including the United States, Canada, and even parts of Australia. These events highlight how Krampus has become a figure of fascination for a wide audience, not just those with ties to the traditional folklore. In these modern Krampus events, the figure of Krampus takes on a more playful and subversive role. Participants in Krampus runs often dress in exaggerated costumes, emphasizing the grotesque and monstrous elements of Krampus's appearance, but without necessarily aiming to instill genuine fear. Instead, the focus tends to be more on the thrill of participating in a dark, rebellious tradition that contrasts with the overwhelmingly cheerful tone of mainstream Christmas celebrations. By incorporating elements of performance, theater, and festivity, Krampus is reimagined not just as a figure of punishment, but also as an icon of the unconventional, the rebellious, and the anti-establishment. His role in modern-day celebrations is therefore both a reflection of and a response to the commercialization and over-commodification of Christmas. The increasing popularity of Krampus in modern pop culture has also resulted in his widespread appearance in media such as films, television shows, literature, and even video games. This exposure has contributed significantly to his transformation into a pop culture icon. One of the most notable examples of Krampus's rise in pop culture is the 2015 horror comedy film Krampus, which brought the figure into the mainstream of Western media. The film, directed by Michael Dougherty, blends elements of horror, dark comedy, and family drama to tell the story of a family's Christmas that is disrupted by the malevolent forces of Krampus. While the film was a fictionalized portrayal, it helped to cement Krampus's place in the modern holiday lexicon and introduced his dark, punishing presence to a new generation of viewers. The movie's success was part of a broader trend of revisiting traditional holiday figures like Santa Claus in darker, more twisted forms. This dark-humored approach to Krampus resonated with audiences who were drawn to the juxtaposition of holiday cheer and terror, offering an edgier, more irreverent version of the Christmas season. Television shows have also incorporated Krampus as a recurring figure, further reinforcing his role as a symbol of subversion. From animated shows like The Venture Brothers to live-action series like Supernatural, Krampus has appeared in various forms, often embodying his traditional role as a punisher of the wicked, but also serving as a tool to explore themes of morality, fear, and the complexities of holiday traditions. In these media, Krampus is not always depicted as the sole villain, but often as a character who operates in the space between good and evil. His presence serves to question the accepted narratives around Christmas and to challenge viewers to consider the moral implications of holiday behavior. These portrayals show how Krampus has become more than just a folkloric figure. He is now a flexible character who can represent a range of different themes depending on the medium and context in which he is placed. Krampus's role in pop culture extends beyond films and television. The figure has appeared in comic books, graphic novels, and even tabletop role-playing games, where he is portrayed as both a villainous antagonist and a symbolic force of nature. In some stories, Krampus is depicted as a demon-like figure who punishes the wicked by taking them to his lair or forcing them to atone for their misdeeds. In others, he takes on more of a comedic or ironic role, playing off the dissonance between his terrifying appearance and the absurdity of certain holiday traditions. This versatility makes Krampus an ideal character for creative reinterpretation, allowing writers, artists, and creators to explore a range of possibilities with him. Beyond traditional media, Krampus has also become a popular subject in modern art, especially in the form of graphic design, illustration, and social media content. The rise of platforms like Instagram and Pinterest has given a new generation of artists and designers the ability to share their interpretations of Krampus, often through highly stylized, visually striking images. These portrayals emphasize the grotesque, fantastical aspects of Krampus's appearance, showcasing his horns, fur, chains, and menacing grin. In many of these works, Krampus is depicted as a figure who is both awe-inspiring and terrifying, with a touch of the absurd and the surreal. These artistic representations often play on the contrast between his monstrous qualities and the festive imagery associated with Christmas, producing a sense of unease that speaks to the contradictions inherent in the holiday season. Krampus has also found a place in the world of merchandise and branding, where his image is often used in products ranging from clothing and accessories to holiday decorations and greeting cards. In recent years, there has been an increasing trend of Krampus-themed merchandise being sold during the holiday season. T-shirts featuring Krampus's iconic face ornaments in the shape of his horns, and even Krampus-themed Christmas sweaters, have become part of the growing phenomenon of dark Christmas merchandise. This trend reflects a shift in how people engage with the holiday season. As Christmas has become increasingly commercialized, there has been a countercultural movement that seeks to reclaim some of the darker, more primal aspects of the holiday. Krampus has become a symbol of this movement, embodying a more rebellious, anti-consumerist version of Christmas that contrasts with the overly sanitized, consumer-driven nature of modern holiday celebrations. In addition to his growing popularity in the West, Krampus has also seen a resurgence in other parts of the world, particularly in the countries of Central and Eastern Europe, where Krampus traditions were long kept alive through folk celebrations. These countries have embraced Krampus not only as a means of honoring their cultural heritage, but also as a way to assert their identity in the face of globalization and homogenization. Krampus has become a symbol of regional pride, a figure that speaks to the uniqueness of local traditions, and serves as a reminder of the power of folklore in shaping modern cultural identity. Krampus's reintroduction to contemporary culture has also given rise to a number of discussions about the meaning of Christmas and the role of folklore in modern society. For some, Krampus is a way to critique the commercialization of Christmas, reminding people that the holiday was once a time for reflection, discipline, and moral accountability. For others, Krampus represents a return to the more ancient and chaotic aspects of human nature, those parts of the psyche that are often ignored or suppressed during the holiday season. Regardless of how he is interpreted, Krampus's enduring presence in pop culture demonstrates the power of folklore to evolve and adapt to new contexts, while still retaining its roots in ancient traditions. In sum, Krampus's influence on modern-day traditions and pop culture is multifaceted and ever-expanding. From Krampus laughs to films, television shows, art and merchandise, his presence in the contemporary world underscores his continued relevance as a figure who represents both a challenge to and a critique of conventional Christmas traditions. As society continues to grapple with the commercialization and commodification of holiday culture, Krampus provides a reminder of the darker, more rebellious side of Christmas, offering an alternative to the sanitized, predictable narratives of gift-giving and family cheer. His role in modern culture, as both a figure of terror and an emblem of rebellion, ensures that Krampus will remain a potent symbol for years to come. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like and subscribe for more, and stay curious.